You know what else is bizarre? The fact that Brock Purdy's playing like maybe he's among the top quarterbacks in the NFL. I had to catch myself there. It is. I've never seen anything like it, Kyle. Obviously, we don't know enough yet to say, yes, he's a great player. But just the fact that the 49ers went from, we lost Jimmy, maybe this guy can hold it together, to, wow, he's playing great. It's incredible. It really is.
It's remarkable. Like, I don't think the gravity of the final pick of the draft, starting games at quarterback as a rookie and winning them and playing effectively. It's not like he's throwing it 6 times a game and completing 3 of them, and that's just their defense and run game. Like, no, he has been an effective playmaking quarterback.
Some are saying he's just hitting open receivers. That's what some are saying.
Which is really funny. That's genuinely the funniest criticism we have for quarterbacks.
It drives Kyle crazy when people say that. It's true, but when people say it as a criticism, Kyle doesn't like that.
All that guy does is find the open receiver and get the ball to him. Oh, man. He really sucks for being able to execute the offense. No, and there's layers to it, right? Like Brock Purdy playing really well and being 3-0 as a starter doesn't mean he's Patrick Mahomes or Josh Allen. Like, obviously, and are there a bunch of quarterbacks that you could plug into this Niners offense and it would still be effective? Like 100%. But the fact that Brock Purdy, as a rookie, is doing this, and that the Niners are on their 3rd string quarterback, and the Super Bowl is just still on the table.
Oh, yeah.
Again, will they get there? I don't know. Maybe, maybe not. But the fact that it is even in the discussion is, I don't quite have the proper. There's no comparison for it. This is just unprecedented. Mr. Irrelevant had never thrown, the last pick in the draft, in the modern draft era, had never thrown a pass in the NFL, much less started a game.
Yeah.
And won.
It's a fact that no rookie has taken his team to the Super Bowl, right? I think the only rookie quarterbacks who've even won 2 playoff games are Sanchez and Flacco. Yeah, so it's never been done. If Brock Purdy, the last pick of the draft, 3rd string quarterback, if he were to get his team there and maybe even win it, it would just obliterate that stat, right? Oh, no rookie's ever done it. Well, yeah, the guy who was the last pick in the draft, he barely made the roster, he did it. So
it would be, and this is where
long ways to go for that, I know, but it's on the table.
No, and that's the caveat to all of this. They could faceplant in the wild card game. That's also on the table, just to get both sides in there. But in the universe where the Niners go on and win the whole thing behind Brock Purdy, it would
That's this universe, right? That is this universe.
That's the right reaction. No, in this world, it would be, and I'm trying not to be hyperbolic, but this is just where, when I think of it, would be one of the biggest NFL stories of all time. You think Nick Foles stepping in as the starter for that Eagles team and outplaying Tom Brady in the Super Bowl was a big story? This is twice that. Maybe more. It's inconceivable.
You keep using that word. I don't think it means what you think it means. Go ahead.
Inconceivable. No, it is. I can't wrap my brain around, and I think that's why I have a hard time just being oh yeah, the Niners are still Super Bowl contenders, because everything that I know and that we know about quarterbacks in the NFL is typically when your starter goes out, you're screwed. If your backup goes out, you're definitely screwed. And when you have to start a 7th round rookie, you're hosed beyond repair.
Why does it seem like right now they have a better Super Bowl chance than they did when Jimmy Garoppolo was playing quarterback? Am I imagining that? Because it sure seems that way.
No, it does, but I think it's because we've seen Jimmy fall short before.
And I think it's also because of, other things going on, like Kinlaw's back and Armstead's back. But still, yeah.
Yeah, and we've just seen Jimmy fall short. We know what his shortcomings are. We've not seen Brock Purdy really stopped yet. Again, not that he's putting up 350 yards a game, but we haven't seen him just really bottled up and oh man, he threw 3 picks. And that was, he just looked like he didn't have any idea.
My favorite play, maybe, and this is dumb if it's my favorite play, but it may be that he made against Washington, where when he was running out of bounds and he spun around and threw the ball down the sideline out of bounds.
But
because he spun around so that he wouldn't get nailed and so that he would have the leverage to throw the ball downfield.
I'm so glad you brought that play up, because of all the plays that it's like, here's what the offense can do with Brock that they can't do with Jimmy. I don't think there's that many things, but that specific play that you point to, that was a 2nd and 17. He spins out of a sack and, has the defender chasing him, tries the little hezzy move, gets to the sideline, spins out of the way, and then throws it out of bounds. That's a neutral play now. Instead of, if he takes a sack, okay, now you're looking at 3rd and 25. Not that 3rd and 17 is great, but let's say that's a 2nd and 4. And you take a sack, now it's 3rd and 12. You get the throwaway, you evade pressure, you throw it away, now you're at 3rd and 4. They're still 3rd and manageable. And that's the kind of stuff that they were missing. That was my hope with Trey Lance when they started the year. It was like, hey, he doesn't need to be great. Can he avoid the bad interception in the middle of the field, and can he escape a few sacks? Can he turn negative plays into positive or neutral plays? And Brock Purdy has been very good at taking negative plays and turning them into positive and neutral plays.
I don't know about his arm strength. I mean, so far it looks fine. Scouts will tell you, no, he doesn't have great arm strength. Scouts will tell you he wasn't very accurate at times in college. We haven't seen that. But you watch him, and to the point you're making, he processes what's going on. I mean, rookie quarterbacks are not supposed to have the presence of mind not to force a play in a situation like that.
Yeah. Yeah. And he's a player who, even going back to dominating high school football in Arizona, he didn't have any college offers. That's why he winds up at Iowa State. He has a productive career at Iowa State. Again, not a superstar, but I think that processing and what you're talking about, he's had to his entire life be so good at that because he's not super tall. I think he's listed at 6'1", and that might be generous.
So I talked about this yesterday with Dan Devone. He doesn't look like a quarterback, and that's part of the issue I think some people have with him. Some guys you see him as like, man, that guy's an NFL quarterback. You see him like he was at the Warrior game. He's just a guy. It doesn't matter, though.
Right. But that's kind of the point, is he doesn't have all these physical gifts, so it's like he has to be an elite processor. He has to know the offense like the back of his hand. He has to know what defenses are doing, because if he's in a spot where it's like, okay, I need my physical gifts to make a play here, like that's where it gets dicey. He has the physical gifts to evade a sack here, and that 3rd and 1 bootleg that effectively sealed the game against the Seahawks.
Yeah.
That's just not in their bag with Garoppolo at quarterback.
Nope.
That play action boot, and he can play action boot, but he's not going to take off for the corner like that.
And that's a big part of Shanahan's offense.
Yeah.
Huge part of it.
Yeah. And that just that threat, like, okay, he can get that first down. It just makes the linebacker play it a little differently. And then you add in all their offensive weapons. And now it's like, wow, this is a viable offense with this guy's tools at quarterback. And again, unless he falls off a cliff, I don't see any reason that he just can't keep doing what he's doing.
So is he 24 today?
23 today.
He's 23 today.
Born in December of 99.
From the 415, the very first throw on the Commanders game was impressive. And Mahomes-like? Do we need to say that?
Okay.
That's where I start to get really anxious. He's like Mahomes. He reminds me of Montana. Really? It's just too early for that.
So.
Is it not?
It is. That's great. Like, because that sets apart. Like,
yeah, not to go Kalina on you, but that's crazy.
So what that texter said, I get what they're getting at. Because on that first play, they went fake toss. He turns around. There's a defender in his face, so he drops sidearm to get the throw to Ayuk over the middle. Really impressive. That's defender, but not panicking, because I know where my receiver's supposed to be. I know where the throwing lane is.
Do you know if I'm serious question. Do you know if he played any baseball? Because Mahomes did, and some guys with arm angles.
I don't know. Okay. Brock Purdy's dad played in the minors.
That's right.
So I'm sure there was some baseball at some point in his life.
Okay.
So again, I get where that is, but again, you start bringing Mahomes' name into it, start bringing Montana's name into it, and it sets this bar that frankly I think is too high. Like, that's not fair. If you're expecting Brock Purdy to eventually become Patrick Mahomes, or it's like, hey, offense, get on my back, we're doing this, you're not going to get there. But they don't need, with the weapons they have, with the head coach that they have, and particularly with the defense they have, they just need what they're getting.
So you're telling me he's a really good game manager?
Yeah.
Are you? Is that what you're telling me?
Yeah, he's a fine game manager. At least he has been. That's also the caveat, because
Yeah. The other thing is, though, that game managers, they don't necessarily take those shots downfield that he's taking.
He doesn't. Okay, so.
And I mean, I know he's not like throwing 80-yard bombs, but.
So he's
very efficient on passes of 20 yards or longer.
Yeah, because he doesn't throw them very often. And he can be, I have the chart right here. It's 7 passes he's attempted of 20 plus yards down the field. But to your point, he's completed 4 of them because when he takes those shots, they're open. He's not throwing contested, like, okay, someone's down there, I'm just going to let it rip and I'm going to trust my arm strength. Like, no, hey, Brandon Ayuk sauced up that safety and now he's wide open. Hey, Christian McCaffrey with a safety trailing him, yeah, I'm going to drop that one in the bucket. George Kittle, wide open over the middle of the field. It was supposed to go to Ray McLeod. Also would have been a touchdown to him. But, hey, going to let it rip because he's just open.
Kittle's healthy now. Something's happened with Kittle. A switch has been flipped, and all of a sudden it's like, hey, it's George Kittle again.
Yeah. Yeah, because he's hard to cover, man. And when you have Christian McCaffrey, and you've got linebackers following him, and you got safeties keeping an eye on him, and you got Brandon Ayuk, and this corner needs help with him because Ayuk's going to route him out. Like, they're just a hard offense to guard. It
gets back to that warrior principle of Steph's gravity, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's 100% what it is.
Yeah.
Yes, 100%.
It's a basketball principle, spreading out the defense.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
and they don't even have Debo.
Everybody.
That's the most amazing part of this. When Debo went down, I was like, okay, there's the run. Like, okay, they'll probably beat Tampa Bay because they're up by a bunch, but now they got to go to Seattle without Debo, and then they got Washington. That's a good defense, and they're just cruising. Washington's defense hadn't given up more than 25 points since week 2, and the Niners hung 30 on them in the second half.
They played really poorly, though, defensively. I mean, strategically, where they were like, you're not going to run the ball on us, and Brock Purdy and Kyle Shanahan were like, okay.
Right. Great.
Yeah, you have no defenders in the middle of the field, so we don't have to run the ball to beat the bejeebies out of you.
I thought it was fascinating, speaking of that, the 4th and 3 at the end of the game, I have 100% agree with going for it. It's 4th and 3. You're up 10. You have the ball on there 11. There's whatever it is, a little over 3 minutes left. And if you kick a field goal there, you open yourself up to the weird, like, okay, they run it back for a touchdown, and then they get a quick stop, and all of a sudden they have the ball with a chance to win it. If you go for it, because if you don't get it, they still need 2 touchdowns to win. If you do get it, you can ice the game with a touchdown. But I don't think they go for it if they have Jimmy in that spot. I've always wondered if Kyle Shanahan isn't super aggressive on 4th down the way we see Andy Reid and Mike McDaniel and Brandon Staley. All those guys have quarterbacks they trust to make the right play.
They trust them, yes.
Yes. And that's what I've always wondered, if Shanahan has a quarterback that he trusts to make the right play, to not take a sack, to not throw a pick, to be able to scramble and extend it, would he go for it more often? And I'm of the mind that 4th and 3 call was a sign of how much he trusts Brock Purdy to at least make the right play and to not actively hurt the team.
Shanahan taking his own restrictor plates off the offense.
Yeah.
Maybe he's not even fully aware of that.
Yeah, I just, and again, I could be wrong.
No, when was the last time you were wrong?
I know. I've been right about literally everything, but okay. So, shout out to anybody who got that reference. But I really think, like, when they got in that spot, I'm like, they're kicking a field goal here, because that's what Shanahan does in this spot. But then they didn't, and I truly, truly believe that he did that because he went, Brock's going to make the right play. And he did. And George Kittle made an incredible catch, but then they score a touchdown. They go up 17 in his ball game.
From the 707, I've been saying this from the beginning. Brock Purdy's a better version of Alex Smith.
Sure. I
just feel like that doesn't, I mean, like intellectually it makes sense, but emotionally I feel like, no, he's so much more than that.
So that's why he's better than Alex Smith.
But I mean a lot more. To me, he's been so much better that I don't even think it's they're comparable.
I just need a larger. I just need more. I just need. That's been the thing is I'm enjoying this so much that I'm trying hard to not like dive into the sample size of it all.
Yeah,
because it's still a small sample up against Alex Smith, who had multiple seasons where it's like, dang, that's a pretty good season for Alex Smith. Like I have
with Kansas City.
Right. I have 4 games of Brock Purdy. And it's been really good and it's been a lot of fun. But if he winds up being like a better version of Alex Smith, then the Niners can win a lot.
Here's what I don't like about that. And you're right. It's been only 4 games. So it's not fair to make the comparison. Alex Smith, and I liked Alex Smith a lot, but his limitations as the 49er quarterback were very evident.
Yes.
And to this point, I don't know that any of Brock Purdy's limitations have been evident. He must have them, but we just haven't seen them yet.
Yeah. Yeah, I think, that's why I said I want a bigger sample.
How was he the last pick in the draft? Was everybody wrong? Or is the other cleat going to drop?
I think there's something to that. Like everybody being quote unquote wrong, just being like, yeah, hey, we need offensive line help, so we're gonna take a stab at an offensive lineman here because we don't need another quarterback. Like who are gonna waste a pick on a quarterback? And I think the Niners drafted him with all intentions of just making him their practice squad guy, and then he goes and plays in the preseason and was like, oh, he's not gonna get through waivers.
Can I tell you something that please don't tell anybody, and I would never say this on the radio.
No, don't.
Yeah. Before the season started, I was of the mind that, come on, Sudfeld's better than this guy, Purdy. I know that Purdy.
I was too.
Were you really? Okay, I feel a little better.
I'm holding all the L's on my preseason Brock Purdy takes. I was just wrong.
Yeah.
So
I know the kid. Yeah, the kid looked like he's got some moxie, but you can't have a quarterback who has hardly played in the NFL and Trey Lance, and then also have him backed up by a guy who's never played. You can't have that. That was my opinion before the season started.
Yeah, because it didn't look like Garoppolo was going to come back. No, I was right there with you. And again, I'm holding all the L's on my Purdy preseason takes, but no, he's an effective player right now, and that's what this team needs. And you want to say he's a better version of Alex Smith? I think you can say Alex Smith and somebody picks Alex Smith.
There.
No, but you can if that's like.
I understand the point, but I'm not going there.
I think it's just pick a game manager type quarterback, and I think you can probably say like, oh yeah, he's in this, because he's gonna I think he's ultimately gonna fall between that. Here's the great quarterbacks, here are the trash quarterbacks. He's gonna be somewhere in the middle there.
Who was the best of all the game managers?
Defense.
I think, and I know we're not just talking 49ers. I think it was the guy who may have been the first guy that was referred to as a game manager. I think it might have been Phil Simms. Phil Simms was really good.
I think it's Tom Brady.
Game manager?
Really good game manager. I'm kidding.
Okay.
I'm doing a joke.
I see that.
I'm being silly.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't.
Phil Simms was really good. And I think he might have been, I have to double check this, the first guy that was called not that great, but he's a game manager. He's a really gifted passer.
Yeah, and they had a good run game, good defense.
Yeah, that's what some people will still tell you, scouts and the like, about Brock Purdy.
Troy Aikman, game manager.
Yeah.
A little bit.
Yeah. Some will tell you that Brock Purdy, he's not accurate, and he's not a gifted passer. That he's not accurate consistently, which he has been, and he doesn't have a lot of arm strength. So are we ever going to see that? Are they just wrong? Has he in this system figured out a way around that? Has he outgrown it? I'll tell you this, the way things are going right now, the way they look with this team, if the 49ers, this 49er team, if they don't win a Super Bowl, it's going to be really disappointing. Some teams in the past, you could say, wow, they got to Super Bowl. That's great. It always hurts when you don't win a Super Bowl. 2019 was, Joe Shasky, I don't know if he's ever going to get over 2019. If this team, unless something somewhere goes sideways, if this team comes up just short, I think it's going to be devastating.
Devastating is a strong word.
It is.
But like I said earlier, I was in the house money camp with, cool, they beat the Dolphins. Like, that was kind of fun, but let's see what it looks like against the Bucs. And then they go beat the Bucs, and it's like, okay, that was fun, but let's see what they do on a short week in Seattle. They're banged up. This is a really hard spot for a rookie quarterback, and he goes out and plays well. And now it's like, this is no longer house money. If he falls off a cliff, it's like, oh man,
yeah,
that really stinks.
Well, the other side of that coin is, boy, if they don't win, it'll be devastating. Why? Because it looks like they're probably going to win the Super Bowl, and they should win the Super Bowl.
They're playing the best football in the league right now.
Yes.
And with this defense, like, that's the hardest part. Like, we focus so much on the quarterback, but what Brock Purdy does, he needs to manage the game, because this is a team built on its defense and its run game and its offensive playmakers. I would feel worse for this defense, because this is the best defense in the league. It is a championship caliber defense.
Getting better.
They have a championship caliber offense.
Health-wise.
Like, they're there. Like, they are very much there. And they still look like they're there with Brock Purdy under center. So I'm with you.
From the 831, Alex Smith's problem was mental. He couldn't take media when he threw interceptions. I remember well, even as a Raider fan, I felt bad for him. He never got over it. Purdy does not worry like that. At least he doesn't so far, and maybe that's something we need to keep an eye on. When he does face some adversity, is he able to overcome that type of adversity? And that's why the win over Washington was so big, because Washington is a really good defensive team. And it was fair to wonder, well, how's he going to handle playing against Washington? And he handled it just fine.
Yeah, he was good.
Yeah,
he's really good.
He handled it just fine.
So he's on pace right now, his 17-game pace. Does that make sense? So if you take his stats from the last 4 games and extrapolate those over a 17-game season, he's at 211.5 passing yards a game. So about 3,600 yards for the year with 34 touchdowns and 8 interceptions. If that's the production this Niners team is getting from their quarterback, they're going to contend every year.
Mm-hmm.
What
if Jimmy were playing and putting up those same numbers? What would people say about it?
If he was putting up 34 touchdowns and 8 picks, that they'd be able to win the Super Bowl. Problem with Jimmy was always, and that's why this year was so encouraging. It's like, oh man, he's gotten rid of some of those negative plays, and I think it's partly because of Christian McCaffrey. But no, I think that the ceiling looked a little bit higher with Jimmy this year because of some improvements